This week on the TT Show, we discuss some exciting game reveals, including Metroid Prime 4 and Doom the Dark Ages. We also take a look at the Copilot PC launch, which is missing Microsoft's recall feature. Xbox handheld rumors kick up some dirt, details on the full GeForce RTX 50 series lineup, Surface, AI passes the Turing test, NASA admitting it scared everyone, and an impressively deceptive banana game. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the TT Show. My name is Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Kosta Andriadis, gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
Hello. He's looking slick today.
Yeah, I know. It's just styled.
It's just styled properly. I love it. If you're on the audio, please go head over to the YouTube so you can see Kosta's very attractive head right now. We are back with another jam-packed week of news. Just quickly off the bat, before we get into what we have prepared, I don't know if you saw this morning, but I woke up and NVIDIA was the most valuable publicly traded company on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it that surprising? Like,
no,
I mean, it's surprising,
it's not, but we had dinner with them 2 weeks ago. At
this point, like, it's just like, when's it gonna taper off? You know what I mean? But then, like, I don't even think it will. Like, you know, some people say that the AI bubble will burst, right? And if it does, what do you think, like, would be next after, like, you know, if generative AI, if, you know, the next gold rush might be like robotics?
Probably robotics. Yeah.
And NVIDIA's already like years ahead in robotics stuff as well. Like, you know, when they were researching AI or starting AI like over a decade ago, going all in. Yeah, I mean, they were also looking in, so like I think like they'll be on the next thing as well. Like, I think like it doesn't stop with AI. Yeah,
because they've also got all the progress that they've made in terms of brand reliability. They've expanded their manufacturing line as well to offer like much more. Like, we're going into probably an annual GPU release. That's unheard of. Like, this is there's major market shifts that are happening right now. Intel is seemingly just sitting on its hands. AMD
like waiting,
doesn't care about its GPU market at all, at least on the gaming front. Nvidia owns what, 98% of the like workstation GPUs.
88% of GPU shipments.
Yeah, that of all shipments.
Yeah, for the last, the most recent quarter. So basically GPU shipments, which includes like basically this is like desktop graphics, but also laptop as well.
Yeah.
It basically means the, you know, like all the Asus, MSI and all those GPUs that you see on store shelves. And like when we were in Taiwan, we were like, it was like spot the Radeon card, right? Because the cool thing about Taipei and where Computex is that there's so many like just cool computer stores everywhere.
Yeah.
And half of them are like branded, you know, like with big MSI signage or Asus signage, Republic of Gamers and stuff like that. And it's just like wall-to-wall GPUs crammed into these little stores everywhere. And it's pretty much just a sea of green. Yeah,
it is. And it does really feel like that. It's almost at the point now where is this a monopoly?
Yeah, it's concerning.
Because is this a monopoly
it's just out of whack. Because like I posted a story, which we can cover now quickly because I put it in the show notes there, was that the GeForce RTX 4090, the current flagship, there's more Steam gamers with that GPU than any single Radeon discrete graphics card.
See, that is insane.
So like even if you look at like the
Halo card, man. This is the one that like,
the Halo card,
you wouldn't recommend people buy only in a very niche scenario where like, you know, they have like a racing sim or something like that where they have three monitors at 4K. Like
maybe,
Yeah,
like, at that point, like if you're putting together like a $10,000 racing rig, okay. Yeah. But like there is no like justification outside of you've got insane amounts of money to burn.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, to me, if I was to recommend a card, it'll be the 4070 Super or the 4070. It's like, that's what you want. That's performance and price is okay.
Or you're trying to hit 4K 240 hertz.
Yeah.
To 240, yeah. You're trying to do something. But then again, like this is... all of these examples are at the end of like the enthusiast level of PC gaming. This is not for the average consumer. And
That's
it's
right.
just crazy that there is more people that own that card than any Radeon.
Yeah, like the most popular
That's-
Radeon GPU still like is the Radeon RX 580, which you can get for like $150 in the US
Wow.
or $100, 100 to 150. It's like a budget card, but it's like from 2017. So it's like it's almost like a 1060 competitor. It's like, it's when they
I
released
remember
the card, that was,
benchmarking it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
it's ancient, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like a bunch of RDNA 2 cards, like, the 6700, 6600 XT, 6700 XT, 6700 Vanilla, 6800 XT, like all those cards. And there's only like one of their current generation, the flagship 7900 XTX, that is even on the Steam hardware survey still. So it's like their current generation of cards is a flop, basically, if you look at that data. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so the 4090 is more popular than the RX 580, which is a card you can get for like $100 or whatever, $150, whereas the 4090 is like a $2,000 almost card, and there's more of those out there. It's just ridiculous, really.
So is this a monopoly? Like, are we going to see? It's the DOJ, the Department of Justice. The FTC. Sorry. Whatever, the US regulatory body that
like,
comes in
potentially,
and is like, all right, look, we need to do something about this. You're clearly dominating this market. To the point where it's not like they're. See, this is where it gets into like a bit of a gray area, because it's not like they're purposefully squeezing out AMD. You know what I mean? It's just like their product is just so much better and they have so much more of their more options that they can dominate the market space.
What I chalk it up to is that they captured the mind share, right? Like the 20 series, or like when the Radeon 580 was out, and then the 6th and the RDNA 2 series was kicking off, was like just traditional GPUs that were popular, right? Like still distant second, but still making a dent, right? But what Nvidia did with like specifically with the 30 series and then the 40 series was just changed the narrative. DLSS, AI upscaling, frame generation, ray tracing, like those
more
things
value.
Are, like, like these are proprietary technology. So it's like, okay, this game with ray tracing only runs well because of DLSS and frame generation.
Yeah.
And that technology is exclusive to the RTX. So like, that is like a, locking out the competition in some way. Like, it's making it exclusive, and that could be the argument that like an FTC could make for like being a monopoly.
Kind of like the iOS store.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like they changed the narrative to like technology to basically be something that wasn't just raw performance. It's like as much as raw performance factors into most reviews, and including my GPU reviews, it's just no longer the thing that most people care about or even see, or like like mainstream people, like people that just play games, like streamers, creators, fans, like they're not necessarily like they don't need to know about like how many CUDA cores or what the
clock speed
full
of the
HD
card
performance is or whatever. They see the end result, right? They see the DLSS performance. They see the frame generation performance. They don't see that, okay, if I turn that stuff off, it's going to be 40 FPS and then it's going to be slightly faster on this Radeon GPU that's more affordable. It's like, no, I'm playing with DLSS and frame generation and the latency's fine and I'm getting 100 FPS. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like it doesn't go beyond that. And that's new, right? That didn't exist 7 years ago.
That is true. Yeah, the market has changed. And I think, again, NVIDIA has just provided more value and everyone else is just playing catch up at this point. And now we're seeing it absolutely pay off for them. I think it was at Computex, pardon me. At Computex, we woke up like midweek and NVIDIA was worth $3 trillion.
Yeah.
And now they're worth 3.3.
It's more than Microsoft, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more than Microsoft. It's more than Amazon. It's more than Apple. It's not.
That's ridiculous.
It's not by a lot. I actually have a story in my saved stories. I'll just pull it up right now.
Yeah.
It gives like the top. I think it's the top 3. Nvidia is the world's most publicly traded company. Here we go. Hold on. Here, yes. The graphics processing and AI chip currently has a market cap of 3.34 trillion, a slight lead over Microsoft's 3.32 trillion and Apple's 3.29 trillion.
Wow, how close is it?
It's very close. And then because I remember that when Nvidia's stock, we were sitting at dinner with them, and I think it was 1,200 and something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Now it's $135 because they did a 10-to-1 stock split, so they could get onto some other exchange, and like more people can purchase shares now because you don't have to have like $1,200 to buy a bit of Nvidia. But do you know what's also interesting is guess how many employees Amazon has?
Oh, right. I don't know, 200,000. I'm just picking a massive number.
1.6 million people. Amazon.
What?
Apple.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Apple employees. Guess.
Well, I mean, man, if Amazon's got 1.6 million, that's just.
But you got to think about how many drivers they have as well.
Oh yeah, and how many warehouses everywhere. Okay. Apple has 300,000.
154,000.
Okay, all right. That's reasonable. I just
now
Microsoft would have way more. Microsoft would probably have about, but they did a big cull, so I'd say they'd have about 300,000. Yeah, I don't know.
You're close, 221,000. And Nvidia.
Okay. Nvidia would have like 20,000, 30,000.
Yeah, 29,600. And they're the most valuable company in the world. There's just under 30,000 people working for Nvidia.
And compared to 1.6 million working for Amazon. That's insane.
It's just like, wow. I can't believe it. It's crazy. But with that being said,
right? They could have their own laws, and I mean, they probably write most of the laws anyway, but
actually, I just thought of something. I don't think they're going to be broken up because the US government wants to keep the US at the forefront of this AI boom because they're worried about the military implications of such technology. So
Nvidia's a US company.
Yeah, and they're a US company. So they would essentially be shooting themselves in the foot in terms of national security preparations if they did break up Nvidia, because Nvidia could just go to a different market, right? Like they could just go to China, and now they're a Chinese company. Or can they even do that? Can't they go to just a different market?
No. I mean, you can, but I mean, all these companies have official offices in tax havens, like Ireland, Apple's head office is in Ireland. And so then most of the tax gets
can't they do that?
Exempt because they're Nvidia could do that as well. I don't know. Maybe they do. I mean, most corporations do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, true.
They're in the Cayman Islands, Ireland, and even all these tax havens around
Cayman Islands.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of movies where where guys go to banks in some tropical island to get their money, the Bahamas and things like that.
Yeah. We should get into what Xbox has done. Let's talk games.
Let's talk games. Yeah. So when we were at Computex, obviously last week's episode was just tech heavy. As soon as we got back, basically the whole summer game fest thing kicked off, and there was hundreds, over 100 game trailers and updates and announcements from various different live streams, indie studios, big publishers, Sony, Microsoft, and most recently Nintendo just the other night. So we obviously can't
cover
every single one, even all the major ones, but just the ones that stuck out to us as gaming fans. I'll start with I guess we should start with the most recent stuff, like the Nintendo. So Metroid Prime 4 got a gameplay trailer. This was a surprise. It's called Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
And it's first person.
It's first person like the classic Metroid Prime series.
Wow.
Metroid Prime was the first game was on Nintendo GameCube, and Metroid Prime 4 was announced back in 2017. So this was announced early into the Switch's life cycle, so like 7 years ago. And it was Nintendo announced that Bandai Namco was going to be the developer instead of Retro Studios, the Western studio that made the first 3 games. So it's kind of weird. And then we didn't hear about it for years. Then in 2019, Nintendo said, oh, Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a while. We've scrapped the previous version of the game. Retro Studios is now back in charge of the franchise.
Oh, wow.
So stay tuned. And last year we got a surprise drop of Metroid Prime Remastered, which was the very first game remastered for the Switch. It was almost like a remake because the visuals just looked so much better than the original GameCube version. It was proper widescreen with really cool new lighting effects and the new engine and weather effects and stuff. Looked really awesome. And so at the Nintendo Switch on the Nintendo Direct last night, they ended the show with a Metroid Prime 4 Beyond trailer, a 2-minute trailer, basically full of gameplay. It is first person. It looks like Metroid Prime. It looks like the remastered Metroid Prime, but with even better visuals. Like, I mean, this is the thing. The key thing as well is that the trailer is current Nintendo Switch hardware. So it's a version of the game running on the existing Switch.
Yeah.
It was given a 2025 release window, which, I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together. This is a game that will be cross-gen, right? There will be the Nintendo Switch version that we see here, plus a next-gen Nintendo Switch 2 version.
It's got to look better as well, right?
Yeah, based on the visuals, all they really need to do is just have that running at a higher resolution.
Yeah.
With
Better particle
higher
effects.
resolution textures because there'll be more memory, higher
Yeah.
resolution textures, higher resolution, and it'll look amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look at like certain Switch games like Super Mario
Odyssey. Yeah.
right? If you run that game through an emulator at like 4K, right, using the same textures and things, because it's like a very clean, crisp game, it looks incredible, right? Because the art style and like Nintendo know how to take advantage of the limitations of the Switch hardware because it's ancient. So this is obviously like a first-person game. There's a lot happening, but it looks way better than what the Switch should be capable of. So for sure, it's going to look even better on the Switch too. And hopefully, I mean, odds are that's what it's going to be. It's going to be probably a Switch 2 launch or near launch game, as well as a version for the current, 120 million Switch gamers out there. Like, why would Nintendo lock out all those gamers? It was just a surprise that they chose to debut the gameplay on the current Switch hardware for it.
Yeah, that's what my question was. Would have you waited to debut? Because Metroid's a huge series, right? Like, would have you waited to debut it on the new hardware? But then again, cross-gen makes everybody happy.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was more like, I mean, Nintendo is always weird. Like, sometimes they just don't show anything. Like, people get so excited for the Nintendo Directs and expecting the world,
Every time.
Before they showed Tears of the Kingdom, it was like, okay, this time we're going to see Tears of the Kingdom for Zelda. And it just took like, 6 or 7 Directs before they finally did it. And people have been waiting to see Metroid Prime 4 gameplay since it was first announced in 2017, right? So this is 7 years.
Yeah.
So at this point, nobody was really expecting to see it because I'm a huge fan as well. It's like at this point, it's like it's not going to happen, right? I've been expecting to see Prime 4 gameplay since 2020 or 2019, around about that point anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like it's already been like years. So then they just drop it and you're like, okay. So then it's back in, I guess, like now people are excited for it. And it also like builds up some hype. So like if they show the Switch 2 and they say like, look at all of these games running on the Switch 2 and they show Metroid Prime 4, you're like, oh, that looks awesome. There's already a hype for it. So, and I'm assuming that that's what their plan is going to be with the Switch 2 is to take existing Switch titles initially.
Absolutely. They have to.
And push them further and then potentially like have a Mario game ready. Like if,
I agree.
'cause Odyssey was a while, but yeah.
Maybe it could be either Odyssey 2, but more than likely a new Mario Kart game, I would say.
Oh, Mario Kart 8 has like the longest legs of any game ever.
Yeah, I know.
They keep.
Let's keep it rolling on the announcements, though. We have a Gears of War prequel.
Yeah, so this was at the
looks
Microsoft.
great.
Yeah. So, like the Coalition, who's the Gears of War studio, first party Xbox developer, they're primarily made up of ex-Epic Games people. So basically, like Gears of War was an Epic Games internal game. Like, you know, I think the first game was like an Unreal Engine 3 showcase, right? It was like the first game that really took advantage of Unreal Engine 3 and it set the tone for basically an entire generation of games on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. And the Coalition, you know, has worked with Epic Games on most of the Unreal Engine 5 tech demos, including that Matrix Awakens photorealistic demo that was on PS5
Yeah, I remember
a year or so ago that looked incredible because it was just showing all the nanite technology.
Yeah.
So they announced that Gears of War E-Day, which is a prequel, which features Marcus Phoenix and Dom like characters from the very first game. It's going to be like a return to like the more horror style of the first game.
Love it.
It's going to be PC and Xbox. Now the trailer is a cinematic, but the Coalition has come out to say that it's basically an in-engine cinematic. So it's
it has
Unreal Engine.
On the video, it's like this is in-game, in-engine footage. It looks phenomenal. I'm watching it right now.
Yeah, so what they've said...
Fourth time I've seen this.
Yeah, so what they've said is that the lighting that you see in this trailer, even though it's a cinematic, and all the models and effects are up from the game. It's like they're pushing Unreal Engine 5. And it's actually going to have ray-traced reflections, shadows, and lighting, and that could be using the Unreal Engine 5 Lumen technology. So that basically, this game is going to be probably one of the best looking games ever when it comes out. Like, I think it's going to eclipse Hellblade 2, because Hellblade 2, as great as it looks, you know, there's still like runs at a lower resolution that's upscaled, and
yeah, well, no Unreal Engine 5 game is actually running at native 4K. I did a story the other week because it's apparently one of the, I think it was earlier this week, Unreal 5. This is from a where is it? So developers are essentially forced to use upscaling technologies, such as NVIDIA DLSS, AMD's FSR, Intel's XeSS, and then Epic Games has
their
a
own
built-in default temporal super resolution, and developers are almost required to use that upscaling feature to achieve a desired frame rate. And this is from Infuse Studio co-founder Jacob Sutton. That's a bit disappointing that you...
Oh, but it's kind of like this is like a natural outcome of, I mean, this was inevitable, right? So like when you've got Cyberpunk, right, on PC, and that the only way it's playable when it came out was if you ran it in DLSS performance mode to see the ray tracing. And then for PS4 Pro and those sort of consoles, they created like upscaling systems to be able to run the games in 4K. And then, so basically what's happened is that you're already exceeding what the hardware can do on its own, right? Like it needed upscaling. So that's the new benchmark.
Bad development.
So then if you push it even further, like you have to, like there's no way, like for visuals to get better, like you have to have upscaling now. Like
yeah,
there's no other way around it.
We're sacrificing resolution. And Cyberpunk is a terrible example because that game released and it was a pile of shit. It didn't run on anything.
Yeah, but like,
it
only ran on GeForce cards.
Yeah, if you had a 4090, but
3090 at the time.
Yeah, or your 3090. Whatever. You shouldn't be implementing upscaling technologies as a fix for your broken game. That's a terrible excuse.
But it's not necessarily broken, right? Like
it was terrible when it came out, Kosta. The stability was all over the place. The frames were going like ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, but Hellblade 2 is not going to run at native 4K on an Xbox Series X.
I know, but like on
upscaled.
PC, we should have that as an option as well. Like
You can. It's just
why
not
not?
going to run.
Yeah, because development is like, oh, we're relying on these upscaling technologies. I think they should be used as tools to achieve, like, for lesser hardware to achieve a higher frame rate, or even higher end hardware that I know is capable of running. I know Hellblade 2 is capable on my 4090 of running at 4K native, but I don't have that option because we're now using upscaling technologies, because we're as slow as the what is it? You're as fast as your slowest. I can't remember the expression, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think that upscaling is an app, like it, when done well, is a good tool to have to push performance and to push visuals too.
Yes.
But I think there needs to be a baseline, right? Like I don't think I don't want a situation where you're upscaling 720p to 4K. And that's the only way the game's going to be playable and just going to look slightly blurry or off or whatever the case is. Like, DLSS quality at 4K looks identical to native. So that's like that sort of like target is okay. But like it shouldn't be a crutch to be like, oh, well, just chuck on DLSS performance mode to be able to make the game playable. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. I'm very excited for Gears of War. I'm definitely going to play this game, and I think it is going to look incredible. Another game that was recently showcased, pardon me, Asian Mythology Retold. Oh my god, this got my foot tapping with excitement. It is, if you have played any of the Age of games, it is the mythological RTS. So it essentially took what we know and love about Age of Empires with actual historical civilizations and thrown us into the world of mythology. So you've got Greek, and not to say these aren't actual civilizations, people believe these things for a very long time, and personally I am much more of a fan of mythology than real life.
I'm the same. Like
I want to
like the
go on.
like the Total War series, the one that has like like Rome and realistic medieval versions, and I kind of dug those because like ancient Rome is kind of fun. But then when they did the Warhammer version, I'm like, oh, this is so much better because it's like it's the same sort of thing of like RTS or like strategy gaming, but with like giant orcs and then wizards and spells and
put me in fantasy
stuff. I'm like, this is way better.
It's way better.
Give me fantasy, or give me like sci-fi, futuristic. Like StarCraft, Warcraft is better than
anything but real life.
Like Company of Heroes, where it's just like World War II soldiers or whatever.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So the original Age of Mythology was developed by Ensemble Studios, Skybox Labs, and Westlake Interactive. Debuted in 2002. Quickly became an iconic game for its gameplay, where players can take control of certain. So you have pantheons of gods. So you've got Greek, you've got Zeus, Hades, Poseidon.
Got Egyptian,
Isis.
There's Norse as well, isn't there?
Yeah, Egyptian, Norse, and then Atlantean as well, where you got like the old Titans like Kronos or Oranos. I don't know how to pronounce that one. And some others. And with Retold, we will be getting a complete graphics overhaul of that, it looks fantastic. It honestly does. It looks phenomenal. I'm not sure if we are going to get another pantheon of gods. That would be interesting. I don't know what that would be. I'm trying to think what else is left.
Like what's Indian? Like
Indian, I suppose.
Shiva and stuff like that. Ganesh. And
true. Yeah, Ganesh.
You could even do like. Could you do Roman, like with like Jupiter, Venus, and all that sort of stuff? But they're not really.
Aren't they the like just the other half of the Greek ones?
Yeah, the rip-offs, basically.
Yeah, essentially. The
photocopies.
The Wish version. Like, isn't Mars Aries or something like that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
So with Retold, we're going to get graphics overhaul, a new game mode, which will be cool. It's called Arena of the Gods. And you will be able to, here's what it says on the website, challenge the labyrinth of the all new Arena of the Gods for single player and co-op. Collect powerful blessings, join your friends, and take on new challenges to overcome in the arena where the gods themselves do battle. I think that is all we have on that.
It's pretty cool. I mean, like it's basically like a remake of one of the best or like
iconic,
underrated,
yeah,
like strategy games, because like Age of Empires was huge, and then they did Age of Mythology, and I think like as soon as I played that one, I was like, oh, this is way better than Age of Empires, only because of the setting. It's just like the setting just clicks, and this looks really cool.
I completely agree. Completely agree. I think actually, if I was to be honest, 100% honest, I think Age of Empires is a much more balanced and plays better game. Yeah. But I just love the setting for Age of Mythology. And also the campaign for this is awesome. For those that are fans of the game, this comment on this trailer is for you. It's been a long time coming. Arkantos, awaken. That is like one of the first lines in the campaign where you wake up as Arkantos. Oh, I love that. That comment has almost 3,000 likes. And also the biggest comeback of my childhood.
It's going to be so cool. Like the campaign is what I'm keen for.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. Do you want to move on to Doom the Dark Ages? I'm also very excited for this. This looks phenomenal.
Yeah, so this was leaked a while ago that it was going to be called Doom Year Zero, or there was going to be a medieval spin-off or whatever. I mean, just like Gears of War, Doom the Dark Ages is a prequel, but at Xbox's big game showcase, they opened the show with Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which looked good, but it's Call of Duty. I mean, expect a action-packed campaign and stuff like that. But then after that they showed Doom the Dark Ages, and this was the trailer that I think got most people super excited.
It looks crazy.
So basically, it is a prequel, and it's a fantasy-style prequel. So, if you remember in Doom Eternal, there was like you would go to these planets, and there would be
hell priests,
really sort of like fantastical elements of like demons and gods and ancient beings like fighting, and like you see ruins, and a lot of it's inspired by like different Earth fantasies and stuff like that, but it's like Doom's version. Like the Doom universe isn't simply Earth and Mars and demons. It's actually like with Doom Eternal, it expanded the lore to be more fantasy based with a lot of really cool like ancient god stuff and like like basically universal type of like battles between good and evil and stuff like that.
Is this a prequel in the story?
This is a prequel. It's set hundreds, if not 1,000 years before the events of Doom Eternal. And it's basically about ancient gods basically calling in the Doomslayer, or creating the Doomslayer, who's basically a super weapon to battle demons, to basically fight at the level of being able to destroy anything, which is the power fantasy of Doom, right? So it's described as like a medieval war against hell. And we see the super shotgun. So like even though it's like a prequel, there's still got, weapons. We see a gun that looks like it crushes skulls and shoots out like bone pellets.
I love that.
As like a chain gun. It just looks so good.
It's the most Doom thing I've ever seen, when he's just like, it's like an old director's camera, and he's just shooting out pellets of bones, and all the other demons are like, oh, I can't take it.
Yeah, and there's a shield saw, which looks like a defensive and a close-up melee weapon, where it's,
so much fun.
They come up with, like first-person shooters always like are a way for developers to get creative when they come up with weapons. Like that's how, like, you remember the old Dooms and those sort of games was like, what type of weapons, the high-level weapons would be just these cool creations. And so, so this one is basically, what if you put like a chainsaw around
a shield.
And so you can slice and block, and It
Do you know
looks
what it's
really,
going to feel
really
like?
awesome.
I hope it feels like the Leviathan axe in God of War, but it's got blades
Oh,
on
yeah.
it. It's got
Oh
blades.
yeah, where you can actually throw it and then call it back.
And I hope it's
actually.
we got haptic feedback on it, so when I'm go like throw and I'm just chopping off heads, kind of like what is the guy from Mortal Kombat that has the hat blade?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is it Kung Lao?
Yeah, Kung Lao. I mean, it's not
Is it
Raiden.
Is it Kung Lao? Yeah, it is Kung Lao.
Yeah.
Nice, nailed it. Yeah, I hope it feels like when he throws it and I'm chopping off heads, I can bring it back and I get that haptic feedback in the controller, exactly like Kratos and his Leviathan axe, because that was so much fun. That almost made the game, just being able to toss the axe. And
I think so.
Dong.
I almost guarantee that's going to be there because id Software, with the Doom 2016 reboot and Eternal, they understood that. You know, they came up with the glory kill system, like you know the finishes that are just super gory.
Yeah, just grab a head and
yeah, it's like because they understood that, like you know, that when it comes to that sort of action game, like feeling the impact of stuff, or like you know, where it's not just like you know shooting fish in a barrel, like you want to see like the demons like fall apart, so like the gore levels of like you know where you shoot bits of meat and chunk and whatever stuff flies off, and then you got the executions. So like if they're doing a chainsaw, it's not just going to be a system of like a you know hit a guy and a demon and then they fall and die. Like
yeah,
it's
you're gonna feel
be way more visceral, and they're going to do crazy stuff that we don't see in this trailer. But yeah, so this is confirmed for Xbox, PC, and PlayStation 5, and that makes sense even though it's a first-party Xbox game because. Apparently, well, I mean, the reasoning was that Doom is on everything, right? Doom has always been on everything. You can play the original Doom on a calculator. Doom has been re-released on every machine. Like, you know, you can play Doom 2 on Super Nintendo, or there's a Super Nintendo Doom, there's an N64 Doom, there's a Nintendo
Didn't they
Switch
build it inside of Minecraft as well? Didn't someone do that?
I wouldn't be surprised if they...
I don't know.
I would assume so. Like they most likely, yeah. So it makes sense for them to announce that it's also coming to PS5. But what I'm keen on is that the trailer shows. So this is the latest version of id Software's id Tech engine, and we know that Doom Eternal is one of the most polished games on PC, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you can hit natively without. So like as you were talking about before, right? Without DLSS on a 4090, you can play the game at 4K. With ray tracing at 200 plus FPS, if not 300.
Gorgeous.
And it looks great, right?
Butter.
And it runs so smooth, yeah.
I love it.
So what we see in the trailer here is just hints of like bigger spaces. So when you see like the camera cut, when he's like, you know, with the shields like on Thingo and like the background changes because like the point of view is the same and it's all in game, all the footage we see. We see glimpses of like big battlefields and open spaces with like way more enemies. So I think what id Software is doing with the id Tech engine is actually just to make that. So imagine like Doom Eternal, but with like being able to handle like bigger battlefields with, you know, 20 times more enemies on screen at any point. Like at, you know, if it calls for it, if there's going to be like a huge battle sequence and stuff like that, it's going to be pretty epic. Yeah.
I actually didn't pick up on that, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Doom Eternal's arenas, and what I mean by that is like the next room you go into.
That's right. It was arena based.
Yeah, it's arena. Yeah, definitely arena based. They were quite small and tight knit, and that definitely added to like the claustrophobia of the game, and also my overall heart rate when I was playing it, especially playing it at Nightmare as well, because you're in such a tight knit arena and you can fall off the map. There's actually, now that I think about it, there's not that many individual mobs, but because the arena was small, it felt like there was so many and you were constantly moving around. But so what I don't want it to turn into is a hack and slash where I can just essentially kite the entire mobs around because that gets boring, and then I just turn it into a zombie train that I just mow down by like running around, picking up all of the ammo, picking up the health. So they got to be careful with the arena size, because people like me who's going to play it on Nightmare will find a way to exploit the size of the playable area. So I hope it is filled with a variety of different mobs, and not mobs that are just mush as well. Like, you know, just mow through 40 dudes. Like, that's now...
But there's going to be some of that, right?
Yeah, but like too much is now... Yeah, but too much is like...
Yeah. But
what are we
trust
doing now?
in software. Like, as well, we see in the trailer, like with the bigger areas, but also as well, giant mech that you can apparently...
Giant mech is cool.
And also you can ride what looks like a dragon type. So
I'm here for it.
I mean, if there's going to be like levels where you're flying a dragon, this is like, it seems weird for Doom to go like medieval, right? Because like Doom is kind of always been like sci-fi fantasy horror, like more futuristic than medieval. So, but I mean,
than fantasy,
a change in tone or direction. Maybe not tone, but like a change in like art style, but also presentation, I think is going to be refreshing for Doom, especially based on what we see in the trailer. Like, it looks like it's going to be like a bit more epic, like a almost like a bigger battle between, you know, gods and the demons of hell.
Well, one of my favorite aspects of Doom Eternal was when you got that sword. Like, that
How
was
cool
cool.
was that?
And now I'm guessing you're going to start with a sword, and obviously his dagger that comes out, which is just epic. All of it, mate. I've never felt more powerful in a video game than when I played Doom Eternal on Nightmare mode. And like that combat loop, once you had that down to a T and you felt like you could take on, go on, spawn 3 more of them. Yeah, let's see how that goes for you. Demons, sure. And then because you got that combat loop down and you're just like teleporting around the room, shooting, breaking demons apart. And you got that soundtrack blasting, just riff of metal guitars as you're just cutting through the legions of hell. I like to imagine that Doomslayer is actually listening to music while he's doing that. Like, he's got Mick Gordon's 2016 Doom soundtrack playing in his head, in his helmet, while he is just doing exactly what you do in the story. He's just like, because he doesn't speak, right? I think it's because he's listening to music. He's listening to just the sound of his enemies falling beneath his feet over subtle guitar riffs of just pure metal. I'm here for it. Cannot wait for the next... so
that's 2025 as well. But
that makes me sad. I want it now. Let's keep it on the Xbox train. New gaming handheld.
Yeah. So they didn't confirm. So there was a rumor that Microsoft might announce that they're working on a gaming handheld during their showcase. But in a subsequent interview, Phil Spencer has talked about how much he loves the ROG Ally from Asus because it's a Windows 11 based device. But he also mentions the Steam Deck but that's like runs on a custom OS.
Yeah,
and he's mentioned in the past before that that the Xbox team need to do work to make the UI, like to make the Windows experience on a gaming handheld a bit more Xbox like. So like, you turn on your Xbox console, it's actually running, a version of the Windows operating system, but it's all Xbox interface. So basically what they need to do is just, have like a proper big screen Steam style, like big screen mode where you can just do all of your system stuff and Xbox gaming stuff and Game Pass stuff through that. And that's obviously what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
But like after their show, they basically, or Phil Spencer was asked, without confirming whether or not Microsoft is making an Xbox handheld. And he said that, handhelds are important and that they are looking into it, but also that he confirmed, when he was asked, is it going to be like the PlayStation Portal, which is handheld that Sony released, but that's just basically a Wi-Fi device, right? It's just a screen that connects to your PlayStation that streams.
Yeah.
Logitech partnered with Xbox a couple of years ago to release like a cloud-based handheld as well, which was connected to Game Pass and GeForce Now. It was basically just an Android tablet that streams games over the cloud. And Phil Spencer said, like, no, that what's important is that the handheld runs games locally and natively.
Yeah,
so
no shit.
Yeah, which is good to... I mean, it's good to get that confirmation. It's almost like, yeah, exactly. It's like a no shit, but it basically means that, Xbox are working on a handheld. It's just a matter of when it's going to come out and also the timing around it, because...
What hardware are we going to see in it? Is it going to be like the new...
like that's the question. I think they should wait.
Will it have AI?
Well, Strix Point, apparently the RDNA 3.5 chip in that is pretty powerful. There's rumors that it's about 30% more powerful than the current RDNA gaming handhelds, like the ROG Ally, which would be impressive. I think if they wait for like the next gen version, for like either it's RDNA 4, which will be like a year from now, or 5, even a year from now, if they wait till like the next gen, like wait a year or two and release an Xbox handheld that's twice as powerful as an ROG Ally, and it's just running all these games natively, I think that would be like the timing will be right. I think they need to, because if they release now, they're kind of like, we saw how many handhelds at Computex,
like 3 or 4 from new companies,
and they were all running the same Ryzen chip.
Yeah.
So if we see an official Xbox handheld now,
it would be the same performance
with that same Ryzen chip.
Yeah,
it's not going to be that exciting.
That's true.
Like they have to come out of the gate. Yeah,
and I'm just trying to think how they would put their spin on it. Obviously, you'd be able to play all Game Pass games on it, I would say. Like they would
it comes with a 3-month Game Pass subscription. Yep. And it runs all natively. And I think they launch it with two things. They launch it with a next-gen RDNA chip for graphics, but then they also launch it with a complete UI revamp that rolls out to other hardware companies, but it debuts with this handheld console where it's basically Windows 11 or 12, like a gaming version of the OS.
Kind of like how Steam has that big screen mode.
That's right, but
for the handheld.
That's right. It boots up like it's an OS. It's basically like a version of Windows, or even like an option in Windows that just that is like handheld gaming handheld version of it. So when it boots up, the interface, because if you remember, like Windows 8.
Why'd you laugh, Kosta? Why'd you laugh?
The square Metro system, right? Like it was designed for tablets. I actually kind of liked it.
Sorry. Oh.
But if you know what I mean, like that was like they radically changed it, but people didn't want that on their desktops, right? So then they had to release updates to bring the start bar back. Remember, it was like bring back the start bar.
And they didn't want it on their phones either. You remember the Windows phones?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Well, I mean.
But now we want it back. We
want it back for a gaming handheld, right? Because it makes sense. Like not that UI, right? I'm not saying bring that UI back.
Not that UI.
But model it after the Xbox UI. But it's just Windows 11 and it boots up into that Xbox mode. It's just Xbox edition of Windows, and you launch it with your handheld, and then you create a seamless experience. So then you can install all the Xbox Game Pass games, and they're all like optimized. Like they go through, because they're in charge of it. I mean, they curate the list of 150 PC games. So they're going to need to go through each one to make sure it runs, or to have like settings that are automatically set for like to optimize them, like Nvidia does with their app, where like it scans your games and it's like Alan Wake, and it knows your GPU, so you go optimize, and it automatically changes the config file for the game or the settings, and then it runs it in optimal settings. So so then they just need to do that as well, and then I think they've got a hit on their hands, because it's also a PC, because then you'll also be able to install Steam on it if you want to.
Yes.
You'll be able to like go to desktop mode and actually use it as a PC, and by that point, that chip will be powerful enough for it actually to be a.
Well, you could plug it in.
You could dock it like a laptop and just have like a keyboard. You could be a PC as well.
Oh my god. That is, yeah, you could sell a dock that might even have additional hardware in there that boosts performance. Like you could go to 1440p
eGPU,
at
that's
60.
Right.
Like say
That's
if
right,
the
you could have
handheld's 1080p 60, you could have a dock that has just a little bit of oomph, bit more
That's right,
power
just
under
has
the
like
hood, and then we go to 1440p 60 docked, and now you've got a PC that plays games at 1440p 60
or even
FPS.
like an eGPU as well connected to the dock, and you can have like a
Oh, yeah.
like a 5070 in there, and then it's like a high powered gaming rig.
It'd be bottlenecked by
on
the
your desktop.
CPU, but
No, I don't think so.
You don't
because,
reckon?
Like based on because the Strix Point CPU apparently is from leaked benchmarks is pretty powerful. Like it's Zen 5 and it's
Okay.
equivalent to like the CPU that you've got now, like the 5900X or something
true.
like that. Like it's actually really, really good.
Let's
And if
do
it
a
has,
hardware imagination. So I'm imagining 1080p 60 FPS. This is for the Xbox handheld. 1080p 60
right, yeah.
FPS.
Yeah.
Let's say Zen 5, some CPU from that coming generation.
like a next gen, whatever, like
Next gen.
generation beyond Strix Point.
16 gig of RAM, DDR5.
Minimum or 32. Let's go.
32. I reckon 16, 1080p 60. I reckon 16, you'll be fine, right?
Well, it's shared memory, so it's like system memory and VRAM. So maybe like 24. So it's like 8 gig for the system, 16 for the
24 is
the GPU.
comfortable.
Yep.
And then
a
some
terabyte of storage.
terabyte of NVMe M.2 storage. So we got
the only needs to be like Gen 4, really. I mean,
yeah,
it's fast
Gen
enough.
4 and GPU. What?
It's just the inbuilt GPU on the Strix Point. It's like the SoC. It'll be like
okay.
it'll
We're not
be
even going to have a little splash of NVIDIA in there.
But
That would be a pipe dream, wouldn't it?
well, that would be like if NVIDIA develops like a SoC, like with a the rumors that they're going to develop like an ARM CPU and GPU with somebody, and like if they do that, then okay. But like I don't think Xbox handheld would. I think
adopt
it's just
it.
like.
But then they'd have to
Xbox
do
handheld
emulation,
is already in
wouldn't
R&D. They're already in R&D, right? So they're already optimizing games for the. I mean, there's Radeon hardware in the Xbox One Series S and Series X, so it just doesn't make sense for them to have a different architecture on a handheld. Even though like GeForce is could arguably be better for a handheld if it could tap into like things like DLSS, but I think that's just unless like Nvidia has hardware to show companies like Xbox now, like then like ideally this handheld comes out in 2 years, and if it comes out in 2 years, there's already prototypes of it.
Yeah, true. It's too late down the development line. That is very exciting. We have to keep our eyes on that. Let's move it along to Copilot Plus PCs. And we can talk about recall and get into our AI corner here. Did you want to start on the PCs themselves and the AI feature not being there?
Yeah, so we're recording this the day of the Copilot Plus PC launch. This is new Windows laptops, devices that have an NPU with at least 40 tops of AI performance, so it can run Copilot Plus features. One of those features, Windows Recall, the controversial feature that screenshots your PC every few minutes or whatever it is, and has a indexable database that is searchable, so you can find out what you've been looking at any point in time. That is apparently that was unsecure to the point where any admin could open up JPEGs that could potentially have your banking details and password information.
Very cool, Microsoft.
Clearly
Very
showed.
Cool.
And so there was huge concerns around that, naturally. I mean, that's outside of the fact that your PC is taking screenshots of everything you do.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it was 100% secure, then that would still be controversial. But the fact that it was an absolute shit show made it worse. So Microsoft came out and said, we're changing everything. We're adding extra layers of security, including Windows Hello type security features, which means that in order to look at your recall or your history, you need to have that like face sign in, or that you need to it needs to authenticate that
Face
it's
ID.
you every single time, which is welcome. I mean, that should have probably been there in the first place.
Yeah.
And then they came out just last week, or actually the weekend, saying that the PCs aren't going to launch with the feature.
Yeah.
With recall, and
No,
that
they
it's
pulled
actually
it.
going to launch into Windows Insider, which is
Mm-hmm.
a beta program for Windows, in the coming weeks, but only if you have a Copilot Plus PC. So the amount of people that are actually going to be testing this out, like you won't be able
It's
to
5
actually
people,
test
dude.
it out.
It's 5 people that are going to be testing this feature out.
Like, what would you
publicly.
install like a beta version of Windows on your brand new Copilot Plus PC?
Only people that are reviewers are going to do that.
Exactly, right? And
Yeah.
apparently, so reviews have started dropping today, and very few of them are all that detailed. And the first run of Copilot Plus PCs are purely Snapdragon.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Intel AMD support is actually not coming until later this year after the chips launch for some reason. But because of the whole recall thing, apparently there was firmware changes, OS changes, right up until apparently 2 days ago. And some reviewers are saying that they've only had 24 hours with a device. So like devices were sent to a lot of massive publications, like talking like, you know, like places that review every single laptop and things like that. Like even they only just got their very first Copilot PCs a day ago, or 24 hours or 48 hours ago, and they were basically fresh, like as in, you know, people at Asus and Samsung and Lenovo were just like updating these machines and then sending them out. And apparently like they were doing that, like, you know, doing that in store or on way to stores. Like it's been a mess.
Oh my God.
So what do we know from the initial launch is that Snapdragon chip isn't that great for gaming.
Which
Not a
isn't
huge surprise
surprising.
because it's
Yeah.
emulating, but actually pretty bad. It falls behind the Radeon 780M, the integrated Radeon chip that's in the not Strix Point, but the very first Phoenix Point. Basically the chip that's in most gaming handhelds, so it falls behind that by about 20%, 15-20%.
Which is substantial.
The new Strix Point is apparently 30% more than that, so it's going to be at least 50-60% slower than Strix Point.
Wow.
It's slower than the Intel Core Ultra chips with the Arc GPUs. Like it's 40% slower than that in some tests for gaming. So it's not great for gaming. And apparently some early reviews are saying that the battery life isn't as great as they're predicting. So
that's what I thought they were going to be better at.
Yeah, so apparently there is a low power mode on it, and I'll have to bring up because I saw it on Tech Power Up, and I'm doing a story on it now as well. Because this is all just like very hot off the presses, right? There's not that many reviews. Like the dust hasn't settled yet. But apparently, according to some reviews, is that the Vivo Book, which is Asus's OLED Copilot Plus PC, comparing it to the MacBook Air 15 M3 chip, the M3 MacBook has 40% better battery life.
Wow. That's almost double.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like the battery life is that great. But that could be because there's like a performance mode and there's like an efficiency mode as well, and then there's a low power mode. But apparently the low power mode falls behind the M3 chip in tests as well. So like when you have like this Copilot Plus PC Snapdragon in, battery saver mode, let's for lack of a better term, and you're running like Cinebench and all these other tests in that mode because, clock speeds are lowered and it's all about having a battery that lasts a day and a half or whatever the case is. It falls behind the M3 with equivalent battery settings, which is kind of like all right.
Yeah, it's very meh.
They don't seem that great. Like,
very meh.
At Computex, I was more excited for the AMD AI Copilot Plus PCs because you've got, gaming is right up there for me. So the RDNA 3.5 chip on the Strix Point if it's 30% faster, like the reports say, it's going to be awesome for that.
Yeah.
But like we don't know how. I mean, AMD has never been the best for battery life, so I'm not expecting they're going to like blow away Apple. But like if it's like decent, like it just needs to be good, right? Because most laptops, Windows-based laptops, ones that are running on traditional CPU and running with traditional Intel or AMD CPU and GPU combos with NVIDIA chips, or that are used or not used, even with the performance modes and things like that, like battery life isn't great.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to be better.
So yeah, so it's a little bit. The dust is settling, but like, I mean, it's not looking like it's setting the world on fire. This Copilot Plus PC launch.
Yeah, it's not living up from what I was just checking. Twitter or X. I was looking at some benchmarks on there, and it just wasn't living up, for me at least. It wasn't living up to the hype that we saw at Computex. Like, these Copilot Plus PCs were everywhere, and we're talking billboards. They were shoved down our faces at multiple events. Look at the new Copilot Plus PCs. These are crazy. These are going to be game changing. Like, and now we're seeing the scores, and it's like, yeah. I mean, they got a new button on the keyboard. That's cool.
Yeah, it's weird. So like Microsoft ditched Intel and AMD for this launch,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like, I mean, it is ARM based, and I don't know, like, I mean, obviously for gaming, the emulation side of it means that it's hit and miss, right? There'll be some games where it emulates well and it's going to be competitive, but like for the most part, any sort of emulation and gaming is just always going to be hit and miss, regardless.
Yeah, it is
like,
a bit of a pain.
My expectation was that the battery life on this was going to be insane.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Like they would do tests. Like even if if the performance is like slightly lower than equivalent like Apple MacBooks, or like in that mode, but it lasts like 6 hours longer of a battery, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's impressive, right? Because efficiency was one of the big selling points, and efficiency is a big selling point
for sure
for this type of device. This is a device that you will take
on a plane.
The go and
on a plane.
Yeah, to a conference.
Yeah.
You're not lugging, you just bust it out, you find a table somewhere. It's like, if there's no USB ports, who cares?
You don't need it to be overly powerful. Hours. Your main purchasing parameter is, I don't want to ever run out of battery while I'm on the go for this thing, because I need to use it sparingly. It's not it doesn't need to be like 4K or anything, and not to say that these laptops are, but yeah, I was expecting that battery dimension to be, for these new Snapdragon chips, to dominate, but maybe we'll see some different testing and they will come out on top in some different
maybe they'll vary. They'll be different. There'll be like I mean, there's obviously so many different versions. Like the thing with the Apple MacBook is that there's one version, right?
Mm-hmm.
The battery life is going to be the same, but Lenovo might have a different battery life, a different power profile for the chip, and there'll be different performance, different quality batteries. The power, the capacity of them, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have to wait until there'll be like. These 10 Copilot Plus PCs with Snapdragon X Elite chips. This Samsung one, this Galaxy one has the longest lasting battery, or this Asus one, or this whatever one is going to be the one to get if you're after like efficiency.
Yeah, we've got to wait for more to come out.
But so far, it's like a little bit like meh.
Yeah, they're mid. They're very mid. Keeping it on the AI train and Apple related, we had WWDC. Apple unveiled Apple Intelligence, and now we're starting to understand what devices will be compatible with Apple Intelligence. And in a nutshell, if you don't own Apple hardware that was released within the last year, you're not going to be able to use Apple Intelligence. And that is purely, well, not actually, sorry, I shouldn't say purely.
Isn't the M1 a couple of years old though?
Oh, yes. I was saying, I meant iPhones. My bad. So if you don't own
Okay, so
an
iPhone.
Apple iPhone within the last year, you won't be able to use
Right.
Apple
That
Intelligence.
is pretty, but you can use it on like MacBooks that are like
Yes.
4 or 5 years old or whatever the case is.
Yeah. And the reason for that, or at least in part, is well, the MPU, obviously. So I'm pretty sure the M series up has an MPU built onto it, a part of the chip. I just want to check that. M1.
I mean, if it comes down to like
pretty
the
sure it does.
previous iPhone just not having the hardware to run it, then, you know, I mean, they have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah,
That's just disappointing because that's like, what, like, I don't know,
well,
800 million customers.
something like that. Even then, the iPhone 15 standard will not be compatible.
Oh, right. So this is, so in terms of like phone usage for Apple Intelligence,
Yes.
it's going to be very few customers.
Yeah, it's only people that have the iPhone 15 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max that would be able to use, and presumably the iPhone 16 standard, iPhone 16 Pro, and then the Pro Max will also
will be
compatible. However,
they would have to be.
it has to do with RAM. That is the big factor here. So the M series for the Macs have the MPU, and the reason that they're compatible, at least according to Wired, is that when a AI model is running locally on a device, it's stored in RAM or VRAM, which is on the GPU, and the Apple's top of the line iPhone 15 Max can offer approximately 2 to 4 gigabytes of RAM, because I'm pretty sure it has 8. Hold on, 8 gigabytes. Yeah. Apple states that a device must have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is why the standard iPhone 15 has been cut out from the compatibility. And that is why M1 has the MPU, has at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. So it's capable of running a AI model locally. And for those that missed the WWDC announcement,
this is...
AI is Apple Intelligence. A massive part of that is the privacy aspect of it. We'll save that for another time. But the privacy aspect is it running locally on device, similar to Windows Recall, but not invasive. So that's something that I didn't know about AI models and why I would say close to 1 billion users won't be able to use Apple's new Apple Intelligence stuff. Just across the various different because you got like the iPad, the iPad Pro, the iPad M1 and later. So these are the only devices that are compatible with Apple Intelligence. iPhone 15 Pro Max, iPhone 15 Pro, iPad Pro, iPad Air M1 and later, MacBook Air M1 and later, MacBook Pro, iMac, Mac Mini, Mac Studio, and Mac Pro. The rest,
so M1 basically,
and up,
but
because
then sometimes
it has the MPU.
But it's similar to the Copilot Plus PC requirements, which needed, obviously you got the NPU, so like you need 40 tops of performance. So right off the gate, that locks out any CPU that doesn't have an NPU. But the second part of that is that these systems need 16 gig of RAM minimum.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's allocated to AI. I mean, you know, the reason why the 4090 or like a 4080 is better for AI than a 4070 is because of like the VRAM. Like if you got 16 gig or 24 gig of VRAM, that's, you know, complex AI models need a lot of memory to run. And like, you know, like 8 gig GPUs like the 4060, you know, actually cannot run certain AI models. Like an 8 gig GPU is just not enough for a lot of them. Like apparently, like, I mean, the 12 gig GPUs is like are pushing it now for like the more complex models. So like you need a 4070 at least to run most, you know, the later versions of ChatGPT or whatever Llama based large language models and stuff like that. So like I get it, but like also, but locking out that many different customers, is obviously like you said, like the privacy would have to be a big part of it, because otherwise the other option is that, hey, run it locally on these devices, run it on the cloud on these devices.
Offload it to the cloud. I think that's part of what I said in the article. Apple has said the following features will run locally on the iPhone 15 Pro Max: sharing suggestions, memories, scene recognition in photos, Siri voice recognition, transcription, smart reply, and some others, which are smaller features. But anything that is more than the, I can't remember how many tops it has, but whatever it is more than the specification on the iPhone 15 Pro Max will offload to ChatGPT, and then that will be cloud-based. Like you have to click confirm, then it'll send the prompt to the cloud, do the rendering there, send back the reply. Now, the big aspect there is I will love to know how often the average user is actually offloading that rendering to the cloud. Like, is all of these features going to be running locally, or will, like, in practice, are you actually going to be having to use the cloud for stuff that maybe they haven't even announced yet, but is an AI feature that is something that everyone is going to be using?
There'll be some of it, but I mean, like, I was actually going to say, like, is it just me, or like, are these the Copilot Plus and now Apple Intelligence, these features that they talk about? Like, obviously without actually seeing it, it's hard to say, but they're just not that exciting.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, and also the iPhone 15 Pro Max already has 35 tops of performance, which is quite impressive for a phone.
Yeah, it's actually more powerful than every Intel.
Yeah, I was about to say it. And I agree. Look, these features, besides Siri, like Siri is really impressive. Because I will genuinely use that. What else was super impressive? I think it was just Siri being revamped. I'm like, I think I can see myself actually using that. Yeah. Recall, nah, not gonna. I don't need to go back.
Sharing suggestions, memories, transcription, smart reply. It's like, yeah, okay, like
maybe
I'll use them, but they're not essential. But like, I think the Siri stuff could be impressive. But like with Apple, you kind of expect them to do something with AI that's at least going to make it feel new.
Or they feel like it was actually designed for the everyday consumer. Like, Recall will be used by who? Like what?
Microsoft, I don't know why they decided that would be.
What work process will Recall be a feature that is used regularly, do you think? It's not what I do, and I live with computers and write about computers, because I don't need to go back to 12 o'clock or whatever on my desktop, because it will cost me more time going through Recall than it will to just pull up whatever I was looking at. Because I know where everything is in my computer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't lose stuff in my computer. That's what that feature feels like. It's to get stuff that I don't know where it is.
To be honest, what they should have done as a first version is that, like, you know, you got your OneDrive, and let's say that's where all your photos are. And then it's just like a recall feature, like start it with like photos where it automatically catalogs everything, because they're all online anyway. And then you just search, like, you know, okay, I remembered I went, like, you know, all my trips, blah, 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 like, you know, Taiwan, like, you know, or Taiwan. It's like every photo.
That's what Siri does.
You know, like, it's already like stuff that's already there, but that like a better version of it or whatever. But like the problem with like the AI stuff is that they're using generative AI for stuff that already exists.
Yeah. I mean, there is
like, you know,
bad stuff with Apple's, like, you can create emojis and stuff like that. That's all generative AI. I'm not sure if that is going to be run locally or that's going to be using the cloud. But
like image generation, video generation, that sort of stuff, you need powerful.
You need
hardware for. Like one of the demos, one of the image generation demos that NVIDIA had at Computex was running on a 4090. and they showed how like generating the image, there's 16-bit like high-end AI model. It needs like a high-end GPU with all this VRAM, and it does it in like 8 seconds or whatever the case was, and generates the images. And you're like, okay, like you're not going to get that level of AI performance, and the image like is accurate and detailed. But even then, like it's still a niche thing generating images. Not everybody wants or needs to do that regularly. Very few people would. But that's like running on a high-end GPU, and it was impressive. But it's like the image generation stuff that's going to be running on these Copilot PCs. Like, how great is it going to be? Like, the models are going to be pretty good, but they're not like you're not going to buy a brand new PC because you want to co-create images with Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, it's true. That is
Or
true.
even just to get like an AI transcription that's more accurate than the automated transcription that every recording app already has.
Yeah, honestly, Siri is probably the best implementation I've seen by a company to entice me to buy an AI-powered product. Like, just the fact that you can go to Siri, I mean, you can type to Siri now, that's a bit of a quality life feature, but you can be like, hey Siri, can you pull up all the photos of Kosta wearing a red shirt? And then it would just pull up photos, bam, there's all the stuff. And you can actually have a conversation with her now and not make a, I mean, she's infuriating.
They got like, they partnered with OpenAI, and the deal was they're not paying OpenAI.
Yeah, there's no money.
Exposure. It's insane.
Yeah, that's how valuable their customer base is. That's a story that I did earlier. I think it was late last week.
Incredible.
Yeah, some leaks from the deal between Apple and OpenAI came out, and there was not a single dollar handed across the table for them to be integrated into iOS. And the reason for that being was Apple believed that its consumer base was as valuable as whatever money that they were asking for.
Meanwhile, Microsoft invests $10 billion.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing, right? So the way that it's set up is OpenAI rents Azure servers from Microsoft. So with every new customer that they bring in, with every new prompt, it actually puts up their operating costs and earns Microsoft way more money. So effectively,
right,
when ChatGPT is rolled out onto every single new iPhone, and then like that generation trickles down in say like 3 years, ChatGPT's operating costs or OpenAI's operating costs could be through the roof. But I don't understand.
But running things locally is the goal, right? So like they're loving this as well, because if all this stuff is running locally on all latest Apple products, then it's less server costs for them.
Yeah, but how do they make money?
They don't make money currently.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. They're a business. So like,
they're not a for-profit business.
Oh yeah,
still,
sure.
Technically, right.
Technically, on paper. They've got subscription things. You can give them $24 and get GPT-4. They're for profit. Let's stop playing. Come on. Let's stop playing. Come on. I think what their goal is, okay, there is no money to get on iOS, but they're hoping that people will use the local AI features, but then will expand out into wanting more generative AI stuff. I'm not sure if they're actually going to, like, people are actually going to do this. As you were saying before, it's not something that I'm going to do. Like, I make an image every now and again, but my job is very niche as well, and it's for my work. I'm talking the average consumer here. They will expand, these average consumers will expand out, want to do more generative AI, and they won't have the processing power, and will go to GPT-4 or to a subscription that OpenAI sells individually, circumventing also the iOS 30% cut that they have to do. I think that's, why else would they want to do that? Just brand recognition?
No, but like, I think like one of the more impressive ones like last year was like, remember when Google showed like their Magic Eraser and their AI photo image editing tools?
Yeah.
Like I thought part of like Apple's intelligence would be like stuff like that, where you just say, hey Siri, like you have a photo, say, hey Siri, remove the buildings in the background, and it's like, bang, removes them.
That is
or remove the power lines from this photo. It's like, doof, just do it.
even then, people
'cause
won't
it
go
can-
out and buy the new one for that feature. I actually have a philosophical question that stems off of this AI with Apple Intelligence. So, given how much market dominance Apple has in the smartphone market in the US, with the majority of people owning a iPhone, when Siri releases with its upgraded AI implementation, ChatGPT integrated into it as well, people will be able to on my phone, there's an action button that will be able to change to Siri. Ask Siri questions as they do now for Google queries. Like, hey Siri, what is this so-and-so Eiffel Tower height? Shut up, Siri. No,
how much
do
is
that.
X in X? Doing just conversions and whatever.
Yes. Right now people do that, but unfortunately she stinks. So then they go and Google it anyway. Well, now that Siri is going to be much better, much smarter, much more powerful, much more responsive, and also have the integration of ChatGPT, will people be going to their search engines anymore, at least on iPhone devices? What is this almost like a move in the market where we will see Google searches drop on iPhone devices because people have more convenience with Siri?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They have their answers there.
Yeah.
And if then they just click confirm from ChatGPT and
that's the
better
concern
answer.
with just in general, right? Like if you got the Copilot button and you just press that button and then you type in your search query, like for just like basic stuff that you would use Google was like, oh, what year did
so-and-so release?
Come out?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Oh, what year was that? Or that movie? Or like that actor was in this? Or like just like even inconsequential stuff, you would just use the AI.
Yeah. And people will put trust in the first answer that they get. And also to throw another wrench into this mess of an equation, Apple has said there is still room for Gemini on its new iOS 18 devices. So that doesn't mean, just because it's ChatGPT is on there, doesn't mean that it's exclusively just going to be OpenAI. So we could potentially see Siri integrated with Gemini, which would then feed back into Google search. So perhaps the OpenAI deal is purely for the generative aspects of image generation. You want to like voice or something like that, like, the what OpenAI is doing really well at. So maybe the iPhone or iOS as a whole turns into like this platform where you can integrate your own AI implement. Like, obviously you got to do the deal with Apple, but them saying there's room for Gemini on there makes me think, well, you're preparing.
I think that
because you don't want to lose
deals,
search.
Yeah. No, they don't. But then also as well, like remember when like Apple Maps was a thing, and then Google was like, "What are you trying to do?"
Yeah, but then didn't they buy all of the like source data? Isn't Apple Maps just a reskinned Google Maps?
Well, now, but initially it was their own version, wasn't it? Like it was a flop initially ages ago because of they tried to replicate and then it was just like no, it was basically like
But also, what happens to Safari
on DOS compared to
in the mix of this? Does Siri open up her as like, do you want to read more? And it's Safari links?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's still the same.
If everyone is just getting their like response from the one question that they ask Siri, does that mean people are going to be even using the Safari browser? You would only use that then, like say the average consumer, if you were like going to a website to check out with something. But then I'm sure that the AI is going to be able to do checkout. Like, oh, hey Siri, go to Billabong and buy a blue. Don't Siri, please. Buy a t-shirt, and then it shows you the 5 t-shirts. I want number 3. Bam, check that out. It's already got all my details because my Apple ID. Like, are we even going to be using the browser anymore?
Good question. I think that I think there's going to be like an AI shop. You've already just, if there isn't one already, the AI shop assistant that will be a part of like either like Amazon will have their own assistant, and you just say this is what you want, and then it gives you all the options, and you say give me that one, and then that's all you have to do, and then agree, obviously, say yes, and then it orders and ships it to you.
It's very interesting seeing thinking about the impact.
But I think there's
of
also a
this
lot of
tech.
people. I mean, there's going to be a massive transition period, right? Like, it's not overnight. Everybody's going to decide that I'm no longer going to do that thing that I've been doing for a couple of decades, which is use search engines for X or this or that. And just now I'm just going to exclusively ask Siri or Copilot Plus or another AI chatbot for everything. Like, I don't think so. Like, I mean,
There'll be a trickle-down effect.
Yeah, it has to be like specific. Like, all right, like an AI shop assistant. Okay, that makes sense. Like just a general AI, like a Siri and stuff like that. For people that use Siri or Alexa or that type of thing now, yeah, like the transition will be immediate. But for everybody else, like, no. Like, I don't think, like, if you're not using it now, like, the fact that it's AI or just slightly better is not going to change you from stuff that you already know. People don't change their habits
Very quickly,
or even just like dramatically just because of a new bit of technology.
Yeah, well, not everyone is going to own an iPhone 15 Pro up and also be buying the next iPhone. Yeah, so it'll trickle down, that's for sure, and it'll be some years. But it is interesting to think about where the browser, like the typical, or pardon me, traditional browsing experience online is going, especially with AI coming to handheld devices. Let's move on. What do we have next on the menu? Where do you want to go?
One final AI story, that Turing test.
Oh, yes. The terrifying Turing test has been passed. Now, you can think of the results of this study however you want, but I thought it was quite interesting. So researchers, I'll just go over this. There's not that much besides it passed. So researchers put up OpenAI's GPT-4 against the Turing test. And for those that don't know, the Turing test was designed by Alan Turing to determine if a artificial intelligence could fool a human into thinking it was a human. It was human.
So it's kind of like in science fiction, or even whatever, for the past couple of decades, it's like, oh, as soon as AI passes the Turing test, then it's essentially an intelligence at the level of a human, or like what you would consider like Skynet or some sort of like actual artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a very interesting test, I think. I mean, it's been the premise for some fantastic movies. However, in this not yet peer-reviewed study, very important disclaimer, researchers asked 500 people to engage with 4 different respondents. One of the respondents was a human. Another was a 1960s era AI called Eliza. Another was OpenAI's less sophisticated GPT-3.5 model. And finally, GPT-4. The paper states each conversation lasted approximately 5 minutes, and the study found that humans found GPT-4 to be human 54% of the time, so the majority of the time. Lead researchers claim that GPT-4 has already passed the Turing test because of this, and the study also indicated that participants believe the human respondent was a human 67% of the time, while Eliza scored just 22% and GPT 0.5 scored 50%. So there's variability here. Regardless, it is a very interesting test, considering how notorious the Turing test is.
Because it just it's basically like it's a test to gauge like not just intelligence of like what in terms of knowledge, but to be able to converse or engage at a human level, which requires just general emotional intelligence.
Yeah. I was saying, I said in my article, what did I Here it is.
Yeah, socio-emotional factors.
Yeah, the Turing test is certainly an interesting approach to measuring the intelligence of machines, and the results from this study are nonetheless extremely intriguing, but there is a possibility the Turing test is outdated and doesn't include the nuances that modern technology has introduced. For example, convincing humans they are speaking to another human requires socio-emotional factors that occur during an interaction, which doesn't necessarily coincide with incredible intelligence. So you can be fooled into thinking something's a human.
Yeah, that's right. I think you could create like an AI that specifically designed to pass the Turing test.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, and it not being intelligent in the sense of like this is Skynet.
Yeah, that's right. This
is
because a lot of AI is just like, you know, when they say trillions of parameters and trillions of this and that, it's all just
answers to questions.
Data.
Yeah.
Like it's just so many like data points. Like, you know, like, I mean, that's what AI has always been. It's always been very like rule based. If this, then that. If the sky is blue, it's made of these chemicals or whatever. Or this is why this is this. This is like, you know, and it's like, it's just like an insane amount of that. And the AI models need to like train on just like endless amounts of data and things like that.
Yeah.
To gain, you know, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Because it is artificial. It's not human.
Yeah. It's all questions and then answers to those questions. That's how I think about the parameters. So if you got 10 billion parameters, you got 10 billion questions that you can ask it, and also 10 billion answers to those questions. But,
you know, the generative side of it is the exciting part, because then it can infer things and you know, like that's why you've got like, you know, a measure now for like an AI not working as intended is for it to hallucinate or whatever it is they call it, the term of like AIs hallucinating, where it's looked at all this information and it's come to some weird conclusion that makes no sense, or like it's just making up things because it's like, you know, the generative AI is, you know, obviously not doing the right thing, or it's you know, it's lying essentially, but it doesn't know that, and it's, you know, they just call it like hallucinating. Or like, you know, AI models that hallucinate, they just spit out wrong information, like Google's AI search.
Yeah, that is true. I'm going to move it over to some science and space really quickly. I can run through these stories quite fast, but I thought this was funny and terrifying at the same time. NASA admitted to scaring everyone about the lives of the people that are on the International Space Station when it accidentally played panicking audio through the International Space Station live stream. Now, the audio wasn't anything like crazy, besides it was a simulation of decompression sickness happening to a NASA astronaut.
Just like in a movie where it's like flashing red lights.
Yeah. So everyone listening to the live stream just started hearing someone go through an illness.
Emergency.
Yeah. For those that don't know, decompression sickness happens when dissolved gases form bubbles inside the body's tissue, and is a common sickness known to scuba divers. So they played some pretty bad audio over the NASA live stream, and then had to come out and say at approximately 5:28 p.m. CDT, audio was aired on the NASA live stream from a simulation audio channel on ground, indicating a crew member was experiencing effects related to decompression sickness. This audio was inadvertently misrouted from an ongoing simulation where crew members and ground teams train for various scenarios in space, and is not related to a real emergency. The International Space Station crew members were in their sleep period at the time, all remain healthy and safe. So
not a disaster movie scenario.
No, but for a brief period of time, a lot of people thought that the people on the International Space Station were dying.
As you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you were just watching the live stream and then all of a sudden
you hear like and you're like, what the like, you're just doing work and you just hear the Like you just, oh yeah, the space station, that's cool. You just hear like, oh my god, help me. In other space related news, Elon Musk will use chopsticks to catch the world's largest rocket. This is something that we've been talking about.
Are these the world's largest chopsticks then?
That is a very good point. I should have put that in the headline. The world's largest chopsticks to catch the world's largest rocket. So what we're referring to there is, of course, Starship. We recently did Flight 4. I think we talked about it briefly last week. Flight 4 was a success, splashdown of both the first and second stage parts of the rocket, which is the Starship, so essentially the top half or top quarter, and then the second stage, Super Heavy, which is the booster. Both are touchdown in the splashdown in the ocean and were recovered. And now we're moving on to what I would consider, and I'm pretty sure SpaceX considers internally, the most dangerous and ambitious part of
It's
testing
insane.
Starship. Yes. So now we are going to attempt landing back on the launch pad. And to assist in that, because the rocket is so goddamn big, SpaceX is going to build what they're calling Mechazilla. And this is this has been known for quite some time. It is essentially a massive tower with two protruding arms that come out that internally they're calling or referring to as chopsticks. And Starship sits in between those towers and provides it the stability it needs. So Flight 5, which is scheduled to happen next month, the attempt will be to land Starship, Super Heavy, the booster, back on the Mechazilla tower. So they're essentially going to be threading the needle here between those two arms, or the arms come out to the sides and then it goes down, and as the rocket is going down, the arms close. I hope they do it like that, because look, either way,
I'm sure they will, but it's just like, it's crazy, like that what they're building just to catch a rocket. Like, like when are we going to get to the point where it's like in movies where like it just like, you know, the ship just takes off and then it just rotates and then it just flies into space and then it lands like a like a flying car or something. Like surely that's going to happen at some point, because
have you ever seen Falcon Heavy land? The Falcon Heavy is so you got the Falcon 9, which is SpaceX's workhorse rocket that is constantly taking stuff into orbit. And then you got Falcon Heavy, which is for obviously a bit more heavier payload. But this rocket takes off in one part and then lands in two. It's really, really cool. Where is it? Falcon Heavy landing. So if you just Google Falcon Heavy landing and then just go to images, you'll see the first couple of images. That's how it lands. So like at the same time they come down, they're like, and then land with one behind another. It's really, really cool.
That's pretty cool.
But yes, as for Starship, this could end in an absolute disaster. I'm not gonna lie here. This is
because this whole structure could be destroyed.
100%, and the testing facility as well. I'm certain they're not going to do it at HQ. They have to do it somewhere else. If it is a absolute failure, it's not going to destroy, I don't know, the manufacturing line for SpaceX. That seems like a no-brainer.
You're not going to land it next to that.
Just like next to Elon's house. It's like, oh, just do it here. We'll just do it out the back. I'll cook up a barbecue and stuff. Look, that's about it. Elon Musk's last teaser for Flight 5, he says that he's aiming to try the catch of the Starship rocket in late July, so probably around this time next month. And the reason for the delay between the flights is, they got to finish off Mechazilla and also make some improvements to Starship's heat shield, which is designed to protect it as it is re-entering Earth's atmosphere. I'm pretty sure it's one of the most complicated components on Starship, and has undergone so many different design changes through every single launch that SpaceX has done. So that's something to look forward to. We could watch Elon blow up his own rocket facility, or at least his launch pad. There's something while I do disagree with a lot with what Elon says and does sometimes, there's one thing I wholeheartedly agree with, and that is SpaceX is not a boring company. That is for sure. There will be fireworks. You watch $100 million rocket explode or make it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. What else do we have here? We should wrap up on the banana game.
Yeah, bananas.
That's a great segue. Yeah, bananas.
And now for bananas.
Yes. So this game has taken Steam by storm, and I should give a disclaimer. This could be a scam, but not in the way where like crypto or like NFTs are a scam. A lot of people are comparing this game to NFTs, and that's not the case. Yep. But we should first outline how people make money on Steam. So you got selling your game directly to consumers. You got microtransactions, and then you've got
free with in-app purchases or ads.
Ads, yes. I think this is called, is it ATX? Steam. Something like that. But then you've also got like collectibles, right? So if you have a bunch of collectibles, and then you can sell them on the Steam marketplace between players. With every single transaction between these collectibles, a percentage of the total value of that collectible goes back to the developer. Now,
oh right, yep.
Now, this creator or developer has taken advantage of that last monetization method with a game called Banana. Now, this game, all it is a clicker game. So it's like cookie, clicker, etc., etc. However, every 3 hours, you get a new banana skin. These banana skins go onto the banana marketplace, and you can trade these among players. Now, you're probably asking, why would anyone want to spend time doing this? Very good question. Players can submit their own skins for their bananas via the Discord, and then they are uploaded to the marketplace and get dropped. Some people are buying banana skins for more than $1,200. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
This is bizarre.
But they're trying to buy them low and then sell them high. With rarity, like some people were like flexing on Reddit. I was like, oh, I've got the golden banana. And there's only like one of these.
Goes to show you that value is basically, it's just like a made up collective thing.
100%.
You assign value to things that.
And this guy is making hand over fist with every single transaction that is made.
Because it's free, right?
The game is free. The game is free.
And all you're doing is clicking on a banana on your screen. Mm-hmm. In case you're wondering, like, what's the game? Like, am I...
No, that's it.
Shooting or anything? No, you just click on the banana.
No, you want to hear those PC specs? You need a 1 gigahertz processor. Hope everyone's got one of them.
Like a Pentium 3 or something?
Yeah, 128 megabytes of RAM.
Oh, you can run this on like a Windows 95 machine.
Graphics,
supported.
It says Eddie. Eddie.
It doesn't need anything.
It doesn't need anything. And 30 megabytes of available space. 30 meg. That's minimum.
This is like, to be honest though, like the whole this whole skin thing of like, because that goes back to like CSGO and stuff like that, the whole trading system that just rakes in so much money to Valve. Mm-hmm. For somebody to come along and just go, I can whip up this banana thing and just put like banana skins, and it's just a clicker, and it's all
you get a random one every 3 hours.
Hey, more power to them. I think that's a brilliant idea, and
it is.
And I think and the fact that there's like 800,000 concurrent players. There's more people playing this than Dota. I mean, playing.
Yeah,
Just
playing.
clicking on a banana.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, hats off to the guy.
100%. Hats off. You have hijacked the system, and he would be easily a millionaire right now. Just by the amount of skins. Like, just just take a look on the market. Like, if you go banana item store, that like some of these are just ridiculous. Like that one's just got code running in it. Pardon me. Some of them are 40 cents. Some of them are worth hundreds of dollars. And this is completely artificial values. And that's what I said at the start. Yeah. This could be a scam. I'm like, don't get caught up in this whole, I'm going to start flipping digital bananas on Steam. Like, you know what I mean? You can lose your money doing this. It is... The prices for all of these skins are artificially inflated by the craze of this game. And with every single transaction that is made, regardless of the total, the developer is raking it in. So this game was clearly designed to...
It's almost like an experiment, right? It's like, can I use... Which is like, you know, the whole like CSGO skin thing is... It's essentially like... Well, it is gambling mechanics, right? But like, you know, circumvented by the fact that, you know, it's kind of like somebody... I remember we were explained like how some like the gambling works in Japan, how they circumvent it is that you play pachinko and then you win a prize and you take the prize across the street, and then the person across the street like pays you at like a set amount for that prize that you've won. So it's like, hey, instead of winning $100 from the machine, you win this little toy, and it's a custom toy. You take it to the cash-in place, and then they give you $100 for it.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it's like a similar thing where it's like it circumvents like gambling laws because of the fact that you're just trading skins, and you're only getting like currency that you can spend on more skins or more games in Steam. Like you can't really cash out.
Well, you get to assign value as well. There's no standardized like this banana skin is worth this much. It's like the market determines the value of that.
And also Valve is making money. They're taking their cut of every sale too. So it's a win-win-win for the
this guy hit the trifecta, honestly.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put out there, if you think you're going to make money on this, this game could be deleted overnight. Like that's how.
I'm just looking at the disco ball banana.
Oh, are you going to buy it, dude?
1,200 sold in the last 24 hours.
Wait, what?
It's only 40 cents, 50 cents Australian. I can get a disco ball banana.
I want to have a look at the.
That's the thing though. Like, there's people that have like their Steam wallet, because like, you know, the trading cards as well. Like you sell those, and you get like little Steam wallets, and then this is all just. It just taps into like, you know, it started with Team Fortress 2 with trading like hats in Team Fortress, and then with CSGO it became like just weapon skins and rare weapon skins and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just an extension of that.
And now it's extended into bananas.
In a form that isn't even a game. It's just clicking on a banana. It's almost like a parody. It's almost like a satire.
It does feel like people are like just jumping on this.
An art piece, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a meme. It's a meme.
Yeah, it's a meme, yeah. Oh, well, more power to the banana game.
100%. And shout out to the developer for creating something that is definitely making them just hijacked the system entirely. And I don't even...
like the developer is just like three actual like curators. So like, you know, on the developer section on the banana store page, and the game is just called Banana. It's like Pony, Sky, and Aesthetic Spartan. They're just like 3 Steam users who came up with it, and Sky is the one who's publishing it, who hasn't published any other game. And neither of these developers have actually been listed as developers in other games. They're almost like they're just Steam users that have whipped this up.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to try and track these people down.
I would love to be able to get in contact with them and then get them onto the TweetTown show.
Yep.
That would be an interesting episode.
They've got curator pages.
Anyway, this game.
But anyway, check it out if you want to.
Cautiously play it. Don't get sucked into thinking that you're going to make a lot of money, and keep in mind that the developer is regardless of the total amount of worth a banana skin is, they're making hand over fist, and that is what the game has been clearly designed for. With that being said, that is the end of the Tweaktown show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you are watching on YouTube, go chuck us a follow on Spotify and everywhere else you can follow podcasts. And if you're on the audio, head over to the YouTube and you can see all of what we were talking about with visualizations. With all of the stories, head to the description. There's a Google Docs link, and we have all of the links for all of the stories that we talked about in this week's episode there for further reading. And do you have anything else to sign this episode off with, Kosta?
No, like I'm more excited about the actual games we discussed and not the banana game.
Oh, yeah, way more excited about Doom: The Dark Ages and Age of Mythology Retold.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Have a good one. See ya.